One of the biggest questions that I get is how can I go on more cruises? Not me, but you. Because we go on a lot of cruises and people are like, how can you go on so many cruises? So I want to give you my 7 tips on how you can go on more cruises. Number 1, book in advance, far in advance, as far in advance as you possibly can. You may not know that a lot of ships, a year and a half or even 2 years or more out, the rates are really, really good. Most of the cabins are empty. So by booking far in advance, you get some really, 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 really nice rates. It might, for you, it might be hard to think, oh, I'm not going to just book a cruise 2 years ahead of time, but time flies and it'll be here before you know it. And that's really one of the most important things for me is to book cruises in advance while the prices are really, really good. Number 2, keep an eye out for reduced deposits. If you have, a big family or multiple people going, paying the $250 per person deposit, even if you want to book a cruise 2 years in advance, you're like, well, I'd have to put down $1,000 for my family of 4 to go on this cruise 2 years from now. That's a lot of money just to put somewhere, and let sit for 2 years. But if you find reduced deposits, that frees up your money enough. So, for example, Norwegian often has $49 deposits. Princess sometimes has $100 deposits. Sometimes Carnival has half price deposits or even $50 deposits. So if you think about it, hey, I'm going to book this cruise 2 years from now, instead of putting $1,000 down, which might be like the bulk of your money you have for planning trips. If you only had to put down $400 for 4 people or $200 for 4 people, that frees up that much more money so you can actually book more than one cruise 2 years in advance. If your deposits are only $50, you have 4 people. That means if you book a cruise for 2 years from now, you're going to put down a $200 deposit, which means you can book another cruise 2.5 years from now with reduced deposits, and another cruise a year and a half from now with $50 deposits, and you can have 3 cruises booked in the future for 4 people for a total of $600 deposits instead of 1 cruise for $1,000. So for me, it's very important finding reduced deposits. And whenever I see reduced deposits, I find a cruise and I book it. One thing you do need to know though about reduced deposits is some cruise lines and some deposit sales have restrictions. Mainly, they might not be refundable. For me, I don't like non-refundable, especially if we're talking about years in advance. So I tend not to do those unless I really think that I'm going to go on that cruise. I'm booking it during a time of the year that I know it's probably not going to have anything else in. Carnival is really big for deposits that are not non-refundable. Norwegian, when they have they're the number 1 cruise line that have the most reduced deposits the most often. Whether it's $49 or $100, they often have reduced deposits a lot. And their deposits are always 100% refundable. So basically, you have up until final payment date of that cruise, which is about 3 months before the sale date, to finish paying it off. And if you decide not to, you get your deposit back. So you're not going to lose any money if the deposit is refundable by putting it away into a cruise deposit. It's kind of like putting it away in a savings, because if the deposit is refundable, you will get everything back should you not go. But be very careful to check and see if the deposit is refundable or not. Like I said, Carnival is, I think, the worst for having non-refundable deposits, and Norwegian is the best for having refundable deposits. So you have a cruise booked 2 years from now, and you got a reduced deposit that's refundable. Yay! You can book lots of those, okay? That's your start. You want to stagger these. And the key thing, tip number 3, is to make regular payments. I know that it is hard, and when you need things and just like regular bills and you get your money, you might actually say, well, actually this vet bill came up, or I have to get tires or whatever, and it's going to be hard maybe to make these payments. But what I suggest doing is take your cruise total, let's say it's $2,000, and you divide it by the amount of months that you have to pay. So if your cruise is 2 years from now and you have to pay 3 months ahead of time, you have like 21 months to pay. So the cruise was $2,000, your deposit was reduced deposit of $200, so you owe $1,800 right now. You have 21 months to pay $1,800. That means that you have to pay about $86 a month for the next 21 months. And then when you make your last payment 21 months from now, your cruise is going to be paid in full. Now, $86 a month. That's like $21 a week. $21 a week you put away. You can even pay weekly if you think that the money might go away by the end of the month. When you have a cruise booked, you can make payments as often as you like. So it's okay to make, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 different payments. Whenever you get money, you can put it on your cruise if you want. If you get a refundable deposit, everything you put on that cruise every single month, plus your deposit, will be fully refundable to you should you decide to cancel before final payment date. So let's say you did book that cruise and you did pay every month, and 21 months from now you paid off your entire cruise and you have $2,000 that you've given to Norwegian, and it's a week before final payment date, and you say, you know what, we're not going to go on that cruise. Then you cancel your cruise and Norwegian will give you your entire $2,000 back. It might take 5 to 7 business days, or 7 to 10 business days, but you will get all your money back. Even if you have a new credit card or your credit card's changed, you'll still get your money back, and you'll have $2,000 in your hand to put on another cruise or whatever you need it for. If you have a deposit that is non-refundable, that could be okay if you're willing to lose the $200 deposit, but you want to make sure that your cruise fare is refundable. Because sometimes with Carnival and other cruise lines, your cruise fare is non-refundable, which means you just can't cancel at all. So just be careful when you're booking. Like I said, I highly recommend doing refundable cruise rates and refundable deposits. But the big important thing here is to take your total of your cruise minus the deposit, divide out the months that you have to pay, which is usually 90 days before sailing, and then make those payments weekly or monthly. And then you probably won't even notice that it's going out of your bank, and that 2 years from now you can go on a cruise because it's already paid for. It's different than waiting for 21 months and then, oh gosh, I have to pay $1,800 by next week or I can't go on this cruise. And even if you think, oh, I'll use my taxes, I'll use whatever, things come up and you might not be able to go. That's why this is number 3 tip, to make regular payments. Number 4 is to make a budget or a savings for last minute cruises, because just like cruises far out in the future can be cheap, last minute cruises can be really cheap. So what I like to do is I like to have a savings that's just cash waiting there for hard to say no, hard to pass up cruise deals that are last minute. So if there's this cruise and it's only going to be like $600 for us to go on, I can say, oh cool, I got $600, let's go. So that is another way of cruising a lot, our last minute deals. As long as you have that money sitting in there to use when that special deal comes along. That's why, to me, having that budget for last minute cruises is so important, because last minute cruises can be so cheap that you can get such a great deal on it. If you have the money, that's another cruise that you can check off. If you don't have a last minute cruise budget or currently, or savings put aside, you could also make it happen. Think about, I want to have this cruise budget within 6 months, and I'd like to have $2,000 in my last minute cruise savings account. So basically you would put like $333 a month for 6 months, and then at the end of 6 months you'll have a $2,000 and you can use it for last minute cruises. Like I said, you could do it in a shorter time, a longer time, but you should put money aside for last minute cruises. It's really helpful. Number 4 is to watch for cruise deals and freebies. This is really handy, especially if you're looking for a cruise further out, so you don't have to book today. You can take your time and wait for the right deal to come along. But for example, Norwegian Cruise Lines often have 3rd and 4th guests free. They have, depending on the sailing and the cabin type you get a free beverage package, free specialty dining, stuff like that. All that will help make your cruise more affordable, especially if you're cruising with extra people. Like for example, right now Princess has reduced deposits of $100, but they're also giving free gratuities. So that the daily gratuity charge add on to cruise lines, Princess is paying that or waiving that. So that right there will save you a couple $100. And then also, if you book your air through them, they're giving you a $300 credit. So it's things like this that you need to look for to help get your total cost down. And that also, when you get on the ship, save you money, like I said, with the free gratuities or free drinks and stuff like that. All that will just make everything cheaper, and the more money you can save, the more cruises you can go on. Number 5 is cruise with friends. A lot of ships have third and fourth guests for free or a reduced. Princess is really good for consistently having third and fourth guests reduced fare. Norwegian has third and fourth guests free. Sometimes Carnival has third and fourth guests at a reduced fare. Most cruise lines do it. You just have to check. It all depends on the sailing that you're interested in. But for example, say that it's $8.99 per person for guests 1 and 2. Guests 3 and 4 might be $2.99 a person. So if you add all that up and you have your cruise fare, say there's 4 of you guys and you do the 2 regular price and 2 reduced price, your cabin is going to be $23.96 for 4 people. So if you're traveling with a bunch of friends, you don't say I'm going to pay $900 and you're going to pay $300. You take the total and you divide it between the 4 of you. So basically you'd be paying $5.99 a person. So that right there can significantly knock off hundreds of dollars from your actual cruise fare. If you're doing Norwegian, for example, and the third and fourth guest is free, then, and the fare is $800, then it's only going to be $1,600 for 4 people. And it's not just for children, it's for anyone in the cabin. So your actual cruise fare is only going to be like $400 a person. So that's why cruising with friends can save you money. Now do keep in mind, when the third and fourth guests are free or reduced fare, they do have to always pay port fees and taxes. So even though the third and fourth guests might have a 0 fare due, they will pay, say, $125 per person port fees and taxes. Everyone pays port fees and taxes, no matter if their fare is free or not. Number 6 is to compare. You want to compare ships, you want to compare cruise ports, because you can look at one ship that might be $700 a person for a 7-night Caribbean, and there could be another ship leaving that exact same day with the same cruise line or even a different cruise line going to the same type of ports for the same amount of time that might be $560 a person. It just depends on the ship, their availability of cabins, but basically you have lots of options for lots of ships leave ports on the same day. So look at them all, see which one's the cheapest. And also the cruise ports. There's a lot of ships in Miami. It's like the biggest cruise port. So if you're cruising from Charleston or Jacksonville, not only are your options going to be limited in cruises, you're most likely going to be paying a higher fare because there's just not that many ships traveling out. So if you want cheaper, you would probably want to go to Miami, something like that. And if you look, say, hey, I want to go to New York City. Okay, it's going to cost me $1,200. Let's look at that same ship in Miami. It's only going to cost me $600. I'll have to fly there, but that's only going to cost $200. So it'll still only be $800 for me to fly to Miami, take the cruise, whereas if I take it from New York, it's going to be $1,200. So check the ports, check the ships, find the cheapest prices because it's all going to vary. And in addition to that, you check the dates because one ship, one day, might be $500 for the fare. And when it returns 1 week later, that exact same ship going these exact same ports might be $800 or $900 the fare. So you need to check all the dates during the time you want to travel. And this is because anytime that it's a busy time like spring break, summer, holidays, things like that, the ships go up and they can even double in price. So you want to catch the ships during an off season. And sometimes it could literally be only a difference of 7 days. So if you could just go 7 days before you would normally go, you could save a lot of money. I'm really good at finding these deals if I know what you want. So I'm a travel agent. My email is ccruisersvlogs@yahoo.com. And I have people who say, hey, Amy, I want to go on a ship during May, and I want, in the Caribbean, and I want to go on the cheapest sailing you can find. So I will find the cheapest sailing in May, and I will say, hey, this is it. This is the cheapest sailing. Sometimes you can find a balcony room for the same price as an inside on another ship. I mean, I'm just good at doing that research and finding those deals. So if you guys have any questions, I just need, because I am super busy, I can't, if you write me and say, I want to go on a vacation anytime this year and I need this, I need that, I don't really have time to do that because I am spending all my time making vlogs. But if you specifically know a very specific time that you want to travel and you want me just to find the deal for you, I can do that. The last tip, number 7, is something that you can do at home, and you might not think about it, but you should cut down your spending at home. Now, I thought about this years ago when I went to Royal Caribbean and I had the drink package and I had all I could drink Starbucks. And I thought, wait a minute, if I go to Starbucks every day and I buy a drink for $6, and say I do that 5 days a week, that's $30 a week that I'm spending on coffee. That's $120 a month that I'm spending on coffee. And that's just one drink every day, 5 days a week. For like, if you go to Starbucks on your way to work every single day, then you might be spending $120 a month on coffee. If you were to not do that, like make your own coffee at home, at the end of a year, that adds up to $1,440. That can pay for a cruise for two for a whole week in the Caribbean, just from eliminating your daily coffee on the way to work. Okay, so those are important things to think about right there. Other things like going out to eat, if you pack your own lunch, maybe you'd save money by, from not going out to eat. That's my biggest things. I know a lot of people go buy coffee and stuff, and it all adds up. So think about what you're spending it on, and think about, hey, if I take all this money I'm spending on this and I put it into a savings, I can go on an entire 1 week vacation at the end of the year. And then you can drink as much Starbucks as you want the whole entire week. I hope that my tips have helped you guys. These are my main tips that I have personally for cruising as often as I can. I don't go on cruises during busy times of year. I don't go on cruises during holidays. I know that you might be limited with your schedule and the kids' schooling, but there's usually some kind of deal around the time that you can go that's out there. I hope that you can put all these things together, and then you can take a lot more cruises, make it happen. It's kind of like losing weight or something. You got to actually make it happen, but you can. And I appreciate all you guys. I will see you soon in another video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye.